get customer insights. You guys have a really unique way that you use data in the public school system. Can you walk us through
Sure, we
a little
actually
bit
do
of
a
that?
lot of different things with it. We've developed somewhere between 60 and 70 dashboards now that we use within our environment. We've done everything from grade analysis at the teacher level so they can actually keep a good real-time view of the students' grade distribution. We use it for attendance tracking, of course, things like assessment growth and models. We've even gone so far now as to deploy it so our general public can see some things.
Wow.
They're able to look at school boundaries, for example, and find out, based on where you live, which schools you are in. So someone new to the community
Very cool.
might be a little more able to find out what feeder pattern they're in, if you will. So we've done a number of things with it over about the past 2 years now.
That is really cool, and I would imagine you guys are on the pretty leading edge of this, especially in the public school space as well.
We think we are. We've got a goal to be one of the leaders in public education across the country, and so
Cool.
we've worked really hard at that. We've got a number of other, I say number, probably a handful, 3 or 4 other districts in the state of Iowa who are really going full bore with Tableau as well. And what we've done is we've kind of created a little repository where we share information back and forth, which helps a lot because at the public sector like this, you don't always have a lot of resources to throw at a project like a Tableau, like data analytics.
Yep.
And so by sharing things that we've done across the different districts, it's really made it easier for all of us to progress because we're not competing against one another like private industry would be. We should be all working together to improve what education we have right now.
That is very cool. And the one thing, as a parent of 2 kids in public school, when you said, share data back and forth, my little ears pick up immediately. What types of data are we talking about? And
Well, when I
and
talk
you
about-
had to struggle with that.
I didn't mean to interrupt you, but in terms of sharing data, we don't actually share the data itself back and forth. What we're sharing is the schematics around what we've built. So
Okay.
let's assume that I've spent a week or 2 weeks building some report or some visualization. Maybe it's one of our early indicator systems, and I can talk about that in a little bit. Well, rather than having another district take those same 2 weeks of time to build a report that's similar in nature, we provide them with those schematics on what we built, the kind of the architecture of the report. They take that architecture, they can connect it to their own data source
I see.
and not have to recreate those 2 weeks, and vice versa. So it's worked out really well. I saved a lot of resources on both ends.
That is really good. We had a consultant, Adam Needles, that was just here 2 speakers before, and he was kind of saying the same thing. We've got technology over here that you can't nothing you can just, plug into your database or plug into the
That's
wall
exactly
and it
right.
does exactly what you need. You've got to customize a little bit. And do you think that's a big value of, the collaboration system that you've created and Tableau in general? Is it pretty easy to share that type of what's involved in sharing that that architecture that you talked about?
It is and it isn't. It all depends on what that background data source looks like. And I think
Okay.
anyone who's in analytics kind of understands that. In the state of Iowa, we have basically 2 large players who provide student information systems. So that
Alrighty.
background database system. And the one that's most prevalent is one called Infinite Campus that we use.
Okay.
And so the ones that are involved in this sharing repository have been primarily Infinite Campus users
Okay.
because the data structure in the back end is the same no matter which district you go to. So
Got it.
it's been very good in that regard. Now, if we start bringing other players into the conversation, which is great, it just takes us a little longer to get to that same point because it's a different structure altogether.
Right.
So, and I think going back to your original question, the difference here again, private industry is always competing against one another for market share. We're not doing that at all. We have no reason for us to hold on to some kind of a schema that we've created and not give it to someone else because it's all about our country's future. Our kids are what's going to make this country in the long run. So there's no need for us to hold on to that, we'll call it proprietary type of report.
Absolutely. And how did you guys even, it seems like, those are 2 ends of the spectrum, public education and big data. Can you tell me a little bit of the story about how you guys got this all going?
Sure.
What was the impetus and where did this come
Yeah,
from?
it's actually kind of interesting. I used to work for a reseller of Tableau prior to going back to the school district.
Cool.
I'd started my career with Des Moines Schools, actually.
Cool.
So I had spent the last 6 years of my career actually traveling the country, training different customers in K-12 on Tableau. And I loved that job, but what I didn't get to see was the end product. I could show them how to use it, and I never got to see and feel the excitement
Have
of
fun, kids.
Yeah, exactly. We've applied it, now here it is.
Right.
And so, kind of the drain of traveling all the time, being away from wife and kids, and wanting to see that end product took me back to my roots, which was Des Moines Schools.
Cool.
Des Moines had actually purchased the product about 2 or 3 years prior to me coming back. And it, for the most part, had sat on the shelf. There were a couple of people trying to use it and make use of it, but it hadn't been deployed down to any kind of a user level. It was primarily kept in the IT department and for doing things like looking at busing and how do we save money on energy and that kind of thing.
Right.
But we wanted to get it out in the hands of everybody else. So when I came in, and this isn't an arrogance thing, but they hired me because they wanted, not me particularly, they wanted to throw an FTE at this position. They wanted to say, okay, we've got this product, we need to decide if it's going to work in our environment or not.
Right.
And so by throwing a position at it, which happened, like I was lucky enough to be me, they were able to actually devote the resources needed to have it take off. I've been there now less than 2 years, and it's just exploded. We get requests probably, I'd say 3 to 4 a week at least, requesting new reports, new visualizations, because they're going to get a taste of what it can do. And now it's all real time. We're not waiting for someone to crunch numbers and put together spreadsheets and lay them out for them and decide, well, this tally belongs over here, which means this one's this. So it's
Right.
a much more real-time, proactive approach, I guess.
Totally. And what you said something there that really made me wonder what the root cause of it is. You said they had purchased it and it was sitting on the shelf. Is that something like endemic? Is it just the risk adversity, or everybody's already stretched the limits and nobody wants to take it on
Yeah.
as an extra time, or what's the?
With my experience in education, I've been in K-12 education since I got out of college, so about 25 years now.
Okay.
I think the most part of it is just lack of resources.
Yeah.
Unless you're a very large school district, you usually don't have somebody who can get deep into analytics, especially your smaller rural type of communities. And so, in addition to not having that expertise to begin with, everything is spread so thin. You know, we are tied.
Yeah.
We can't increase our budget numbers. We can't go out and have a higher margin in what we do. What we get is what we get, and we have to spread that and you know, decide, is this going to go towards other classroom teachers so we can lower our classroom numbers? Is it going to go towards new techs? Is it going to go towards technology? Is it going to go to an FTE who can take care of doing our analytics? And Des Moines just got to the point where it was time to throw something at this product we were trying to use, Tableau, and see if it was the right fit. And once we were able to throw those resources, like I said, it just exploded on us.
Cool. So it sounds like you've been using it for 2 years inside the school system?
2 years at Des Moines, yes, and 6 years prior to that with other K-12 from the vendor side.
Gotcha. And how has perception and, like you said, adoption you've already spoken to, is this something folks understand, like at the teacher level, that it's a pretty low bar to realize, wow, I've got, here's a picture and here's
Right.
the things. How do you guys help increase awareness of it? And is it something that you have to be proactive about, or do you find folks just word of mouthing it and coming back to you?
That's a great question. It's been an uphill battle. And we're an environment of about 5,000 teachers. So it's a large deployment here, and every teacher has access to various reports in Tableau. So
Right.
the approach we've been using now, because Tableau did not have a real strong reputation in our district because it hadn't been used those first few years,
Right.
we started building things out, and as we did that, we started recording what we call kite modules. So they're online training sessions that go along with each of the different reports or visualizations we do. And they may be anywhere from 2 minutes long to 10 minutes long. They're short, sweet, concise. Yep. A teacher in his or her spare time, which there's a lot of when you're in the classroom, maybe during part of a planning period, has the ability then to go in and watch these and start to understand, well, what is this visualization all about? What does this mean? What is this color scheme all about? And what is it telling me? So not only are we trying to show them how do we use the report, but even more importantly, what does the report mean? What is the data behind it? Is there an actual meaning, something we can do proactively now as a result of that?
Got it. And you mentioned, 5,000 teachers, that's a lot of folks, and it's you and you alone, or do you have a team?
No, I've got actually,
Okay.
there's about 7 of us in our department, our data
Great.
analytics department. Myself and 2 of my colleagues actually presented here this morning. And 4 of us came to the conference this week.
Very cool.
Had to leave a couple back to kind of run the ship, if
Lucky
you will.
them.
But yeah, we've got a good, strong team. In fact, we have recently just reorganized.
Cool.
We've created what we call our Office of Innovation. And we are the ones who are responsible not only for the data analytics, but also our student information system. And we work very closely. In fact, we are office right with our IT department. Which is it's kind of a critical juncture. You've got to have access to the things you need to do things in Tableau, like the database itself. And so having that close relationship has been helpful. But we're about a staff of about 6 or 7.
So obviously, you started out as one person 2 years ago, you're up to 6 or 7. How is that, have you guys hit like the sweet spot for what you think it's about, a little less or a little more than one person for every 1,000 teachers? Or if other schools were trying to adopt this, when would they hit that first FTE? They were probably a little late bringing you in.
Yeah.
What would be a good time for other schools to start considering
That's
doing
a tough
this?
question. It really is, depending upon what the demand is out there. I'm the only one of those 6 who is totally devoted to doing nothing but Tableau.
I see.
The rest of them are on about a 50-50. They do Tableau, Infinite Campus, and some other reporting and program evaluation things that we have need for. I'm not sure that you can look at any school district, regardless of how large or how small it is, and say, well, we're just going to allow this one person to do it in their free time, if you will. It's just not there. You've got to have that structure of at least X number of hours per day, per week, whatever it is, and devote to the product, saying we are going to use this to better education, to better our education. And so I don't know that I can give you a good quantified number on that. I don't know that we're at the sweet spot yet. I think we're close. I do. I think it's only going to grow on us because, again, they're getting the taste of it, and now that they've gotten that taste, they just want more.
That's really cool.
It is.
And have you guys found, being on the leading edge, I'm sure it's kind of hard to connect up with other groups around the country that are doing this. Have you found other pockets of Tableau activity in public education?
In fact, this conference is great for us for that purpose. We
Cool.
had, I think they had told us we had 291 favorites for our session today, and I think we
Wow,
probably
that's
had somewhere around 200 or 225 in our session, all who were interested in K-12, because we were presenting on nothing but K-12. So
Cool.
for us, this is our best networking option right here. We love this. I look forward to this every year. This is my 4th year here. I couldn't be more excited. From about August on, I am just dying to get out here and see other people in K-12, because higher education has been a good market for Tableau in the past, and it's just been recently that K-12 has kind of come to fruition, and we've identified, I say we, all of us involved in Tableau have said, this is an area, a market that we've really got to tap into, and now Tableau has really put some steam behind it, and it's growing. I mean, to have that number of people in our session today, that says a lot.
That is really
Says
cool.
a lot.
And do you find Tableau themselves, like coming out with specialized templates or reports, or what is Tableau themselves? Is this a space that they're engaging, or is it kind of driven by the users at this point?
So far, it's been driven, I think, primarily by us. There is a reseller involved, one I had worked for before, I know, that has done a lot of template work for K-12 schools, which has been very helpful. To put Tableau out in a K-12 environment and say, here's a catalog of templates that's pretty much plug and play, so at least get started, that really gets the appetite going.
Right.
So.
Yeah, but that's the tough part, right?
It is.
So what would you say is the minimal skill level? Somebody's watching right now and they say, oh my gosh, I could totally use this. I'm in K through 12. I'm in a position where I could make a decision to hire this person. What or reuse an existing person. What does the skill set of that person look like? It's going to be hard to find ex-trainers.
It is. It is. And we were both lucky in that regard.
Yep.
I think you're looking at somebody who can understand just the formatting of data. Someone who uses Excel on a regular basis. And I'm not a big Excel freak, so I'm not pushing Excel. But those people who know how to do things like lookups, like pivots in Excel, creating charts and those types of things, that's the person who can, in my opinion, very easily get started in Tableau. I never did get much for formal training, even as a trainer. I did some things with our company at the time, but it was mostly just spending time on the forums and working with myself. With Tableau, you can't break anything. The data is what it is. No matter what you do, you can't break it. And that's the first thing I always tell any class I teach. Don't worry about it, you can't break anything. So it's more of overcoming that fear factor.
Very cool. That's a great point. I love that, because your data still lives in the sources. You're just putting a pretty face on it, essentially. So yeah, that's a really valid point. And what about, if you guys can, and again, if you can't talk about it, just tell me. It's not open for discussion. What does your big data picture look like? Like, how many sources do you have coming through? Do you data lake it, or do you have little silos? And what does that look like in public education?
We do have a lot of disparate databases. Right now, we use Tableau primarily to query against our student information system. However, we have recently purchased Alteryx now also to allow us to do a lot more, robust data blending, if you will. I mean, Tableau has a data blending component to it, but we needed something a little bit more robust. We've talked about going to a large-scale, big data style data warehouse. Although at this point right now, if we tap into our student information system, we add into that busing and food service and HR and finance, just as some library systems, as a few examples. Most of that, I think, at this point, we can take care of that via the Alteryx. Using Alteryx to bring that data together and blend it, if you will, at least buys us some time before we have to go to that next step of a large data warehouse. And there are some options out there for K-12 for data warehouses, but they also require a lot of money. And again, we can't just go out and improve our sales figures to raise the capital to do that. We get what we get from taxation. And so I think our bigger picture, in the long run, is to start bringing all these things together through something like Alteryx, which again we're using quite a bit now and love it. It's a great add-on, if you will, to the Tableau. It's a great partnership. And so being able to bring all this together, that's kind of where we're headed.